Hi, everyone. Welcome to Here for the Health of It podcast. I want to introduce you to two people for our show today. We have Quinn Sellers, who's the Upstate Territory Manager for the non-alcoholic division of Peak Drift. And then we have Jordan Stiles, who is the CEO of Peak Drift and Craft Brew Inc. We get into all things Peak Drift and what it's like having a massive manufacturing plant and labeling plant in Columbia. They were talking about the non-alcoholic space and some of the things that they're doing with Delta 9. They're really innovating in a lot of different areas, and it's happening right here in Columbia, South Carolina. So I hope you enjoy it. Thanks for listening. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Here for the Health of It podcast. I'm Dr. Randy here with Dr. Tom, as always, and we have a great show for you today. We have two guests today. We have Jordan Stiles, who his wife was on a couple months ago, and he is the CEO of Peak Drift / Craft Brew Incorporated. Is that two different things?
In a way, yes.
In a way.
Yep.
All right. It's the slash kind of means both.
Kind of and yes.
Separate. Okay. And we also have Quinn Sellers, who is the Upstate Territory Manager for the non-alcoholic division at Peak Drift. So we're excited to have you guys here. Thanks for coming. You guys brought some nice merch for us too. I have this t-shirt on right here. And you brought all your different samples and different ones out here. You were telling me earlier.
Bevies.
This brand new Yacht Rock
brand new.
This is the first time anyone's seen it.
I do not think anyone's seen it yet. So.
Yes,
I
they
think
put us on the cover too. You missed that
Exclusive.
part.
Yeah,
That's us.
That part is good. We were just talking about hats. We don't have enough sailor hats. Maybe that's our issue. All right. Well, tell us about how this started for you guys. Where did you guys meet, come together? Because I'm excited about. For people that don't know, it's on North Main. You have a huge warehouse, and you make everything here. You send drinks all over the world, and you're also really big in making the labels for the drinks as well. Lots of people get you guys to do that too. And we went and toured it, and it was just a beautiful place. It was hard to believe that something like that is in Columbia right now.
Yeah, so this started 6 years ago now with the idea, the concept of what we wanted to do. Honestly, it wasn't quite on the scale of what we have created and what it is today. I personally envisioned something a little bit smaller, a little bit more manageable,
more intimate
on the front end. Having the tap room, having the retail space while brewing some beer, and having some fun with it. And then we just blew that wide open with the 65,000 square foot building. The former stone manufacturing plant right up there on North Main had been abandoned for 15 to 20 years at that point. And, we wanted to bring something back, reinvigorate what that building used to be, what North Main is going to be with the Bull Street project and with what Columbia has coming in front of them. And we decided to plant our roots there, which given 65,000 square feet, you really got to make that into something,
Right.
turn that into something
massive.
Wait, normally people start in the garage for this, right?
Correct.
Isn't that like the normal dude's dream is like, hey, I'm going to start a brewery and I'm just going to mess around in my garage.
We were starting in the garage, absolutely. And given we'd already gotten into hospitality at that point, we had 4 restaurants at the time. I was like, let's just get another kind of restaurant tap room going.
I think it has to be a little higher.
And
oh, that sounded good.
yeah,
Yeah.
It's better.
that's
The
better.
depth
Okay,
of
great.
your voice felt better there.
Cool, great.
I wanted people to appreciate your voice more.
Thank you. But yeah, so it started there. I grew up in Charlotte, North Carolina. I saw the kind of craft beer boom that occurred 15, 20 years ago now at this point. And given Columbia and South Carolina, we didn't necessarily have that same thing going for us.
Right.
So getting into hospitality, I was like, I don't know, I think the next step could be doing a brewery and, having a brand behind it and, being able to get that going in Columbia, the Midlands, and then eventually South Carolina. And like I said, we kind of just took that to 11.
Right.
With the space and what we were trying to do. But it's come a long way. I mean, Peak Drift took us probably 8 months to actually come up with that name. We had probably 20 options. We had quite the process behind it. Ultimately, it kind of came down to Greg and Sarah as the sibling owners of the company. Grew up in Columbia, South Carolina. I grew up in Charlotte, and you're between the mountains and the sea. And, kind of experiencing both and the beauty of both, and kind of translating that into what the brand is, with being environmentally friendly as much as a craft beer spot and producer can be. And we can get more into that later, but with the can printer and just everything that we do that kind of emphasizes that part. But it started with the name and eventually, what we're kind of doing now. Mm-hmm. But it's taken a lot of turns. It's taken a lot of evolution. We are still learning day in and day out as to, how to be a good brand, a trustworthy brand, and to be South Carolina's brand.
And so your wife and brother-in-law are both pretty big personalities.
Absolutely.
Walk us through how you became the CEO and what were the discussions there? Like, did you feel, was it like a full blown?
Well, maybe start with marrying Middleton. Let's go.
Yeah.
Just marrying into the Middleton family. What was that like?
Oh yeah. So I mean, we're going on, I believe, 9 years now. So it's been a while. It's been a roller coaster ride. A lot of fun, colorful experiences. A lot of eye opening as to what they are doing. I went to law school at South Carolina, which is where I met my wife now, Sarah. Nice. And for probably the first year that we were actually in a relationship, I didn't really know what all they did.
Right.
I didn't necessarily care to at the time. Obviously, I cared about them and learning about them, but from a business side, I was like, always had dreams to go do my own thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Today's episode is brought to you by our sponsor, Columbia Family Chiropractic, with 3 easy-to-get-to locations, one in Forest Acres, which is by Trader Joe's, one in O'Neill Court by the DMV, and one in the Northeast by Sand Hills. You'll be sure to have somewhere near you. They offer a ton of services from corrective care, on-site digital x-rays, spinal decompression for bulging or herniated discs, dry needling for injuries, pediatric care, and a Class 4 laser. They accept all your major insurances. And if you mention this ad, you'll get a discount on your first appointment. Check out their website at cfc4health.com or Google Columbia Family Chiropractic. That's cfc4health.com.
That's kind of what we tried to do initially, and that quickly kind of turned with Scott, my father-in-law. Just wanted to bring us back down here, wanted us to be a part of the family business. And I think it was August of 2017, I believe, that became a reality. So it's been 8 years with them and gone through all sorts of stuff, but a lot of, big personality and a lot of aspiration, a lot of drive, and a lot of know-how, smarts, intelligence. They are definitely on the forefront of, not just what we're trying to achieve here, but in healthcare and on the hospitality side. I mean, I've hired a lot of people for our multitude of companies now, and one thing I always tell every single person that I hire and I interview, I was like, you will expect to do things differently. We are always changing, evolving, looking to the new things, so it's not necessarily for everyone.
Right. That's nice. He's obsessed with microphones.
No, I like, because your voice.
Yeah. Or he's obsessed with your voice.
Yeah.
Well, hey, I hope I have a good voice. Personally, you always feel like it sounds dumb. But
so the conversation to ask for your wife's hand in marriage. Did you go to her father and ask, and what was that? What did he say? I'm curious.
Weirdly enough, I was actually told not to do that. That
really?
It would not be received well
from Sarah.
That is not what I should do.
Really?
Wow. They are very progressive, and they're just like, that's old-timey.
Don't need to show up with a couple goats and say, here's my
the dowry.
If you guys want to get married, get married.
Yeah, that's cool.
I still did go through the formal process of, I did take them out, and we got a nice dinner, and I just told them, I was like, hey, I plan and want to marry your daughter.
Yeah.
I even said, I was like, I'm not necessarily asking for your permission because I was told not to do that, but I would like to.
You did it kind of in like a roundabout, quiet way.
Yeah. And of course, they were very happy, which is great. You know,
It's just the hardest part. The
They're
hardest part
well-received.
is asking for the father's hand.
absolutely.
And I've got 2 daughters, and I just can't
Asking
wait
for the
until they both hand in marriage.
I don't think it's the father's.
Asking the father for their daughter's hand in marriage. That's good. That's good. All right, that was he made it easy on you then, I guess.
Made it easy for sure, for sure. I mean, he made that part easy.
Yeah.
You know, I also work for him, so not everything's easy, but you know, we've definitely come a long way. Like I said, I mean, even working with them, it's almost day in and day out. It is a learning and growing experience
For sure.
Yeah.
So,
All right, so Peak Drift starts at 65,000 square foot, right? When do you start building out divisions? When do we get our guy Quinn over here involved? Like, how did you recruit talent? Because you had to do it quick for that size building and project.
sure. So, I mean, really on the front end, I think we actually made the decision to move forward and go, you know, into alcohol brewing and to have a tap room in 2019, I believed. And weirdly enough, we were actually standing in the Columbia Craft tap room when that actually happened. And from there, we unfortunately started building and started doing our thing as COVID started. Ultimately, that led to about almost an entire year of having to not get our project done through various, you know, delays in acquiring stuff and construction materials, everything else. We were probably about a year off from where we were. So we actually had a lot of our initial team early on. And we have the brew pub and smoked. So we were able to kind of shift and have people start there and get, you know, kind of Peak Drift at least off the ground at smoked in a very kind of small, intimate space. However, in actually creating smoked, we pivoted pretty heavily about halfway through that project from being more casual to upscale dining. Upscale dining and craft breweries don't exactly
Yeah, they don't really
mix. And Quinn actually, at the time, was working for us. He was our beverage director and then became the GM of Smoked.
Nice.
And and he's been a very good friend since those times. And
What kind
from
of
when I
blackmail
first
did you
met
use to
him-
do that?
I don't have any. Honestly, the thing that draws me to this company and keeps me here is what he said earlier was the fact that we don't do things like everybody else does. We are constantly trying to figure out new ways to do things, and if not new, better ways to do things. And it's a constantly changing environment, which is what I'm drawn to because I'm like the poster child for ADHD. So it's nice to have a constantly changing environment because it exercises my brain and keeps me focused and keeps me interested, like indefinitely, which is part of the beautiful things about working for them.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
And so you started at Smoked.
So actually, I started in 2020 during COVID. So I started off as a bar manager. They moved me to corporate beverage director for a number of years, and then I took over Smoked as GM. After a certain time, after that kind of got up and running, got its legs underneath it a little bit, the brewery was kind of hitting its peak to where, it's funny, it's hitting its peak and its peak drift. But they saw, but kind of, I already had knowledge of the beverage world, and reps have already been calling on me for a number of years. So it made it an easy transition for me to kind of try my hand at sales and kind of learn from the bottom to the top and figure out how all this works and just help them out in any way that I can. So that's kind of what's led me to where I am now.
That's good. So when you move from place to place, how many different positions have you held now?
I don't even want to
With
count.
that.
There's been a couple.
Really?
There's a couple. Yeah. There's a couple. Yeah.
Three or four?
3 or 4, yeah.
So one a year almost.
Yeah.
What's the transition like? Is it you bring someone else in and then you train them and then
Yeah.
you go start a brand new position and you figure out how that works?
Mm-hmm.
And then once you figure it out, then you bring in a new person, train them, and then you go to a
create
new
them.
one.
Yeah,
you
create
create
the
them.
job.
You keep backfilling basically and keep
Yeah.
working your way up. Yeah.
Which I think that's a good way to scale.
is.
That's what you
Absolutely.
need is a person who can go from job to job and keep training people along the way.
Yeah.
Because most people will just do the job that they were given, but they have a hard time
Transitioning.
creating a new job and then transitioning it out.
I love the self-starter aspect of it because it allows me to kind of create this and build the SOPs, the standard operating procedures, and kind of figure out. I almost like to break the job a little bit at first to figure out the size of my sandbox, and then that allows me to train the person behind me.
Yeah.
what to look out for. So it works pretty well.
Nice.
100%.
So what were some of the first beverages at Peak Drift? Like, where'd you guys start with a base? Like, was there 1? Was there 6 that you rolled out?
Golden Ale was probably the first thing that we made.
Golden Ale was pretty much first, followed by our New England IPA. Then we got into the sour world. I think what also definitely separated us, made us very different, for better or for worse, was we threw a lot of stuff at the wall right off the rip.
Just testing.
That was part of what Smoked was for. It was kind of the micro pub, the microbrewery that was in there. That was like our laboratory, if you will.
Gotcha.
We could test stuff there. And then as North Main completed, we went right to market almost immediately. So we actually completed end of November of, I guess it's 2022 now. And we were sending shipments to KW in January.
Feels like that was last
So
year.
we scaled it up very quickly. We started with, 5 different products, a 15-pack variety pack, all sorts of stuff, which I will say, knowing what I know now, having grown and understanding a lot more, because when I first got more involved on this side and on brewing and running this, beverage company, I didn't know anything about it. I started on the healthcare side. I started on the HR side when I was working for the family, and ended up kind of migrating over to the hospitality side as we were opening up more and more restaurants and got into operations there. And then as the brewery kind of got there, it was like, it had always kind of drawn me. I mean, I wouldn't say it was necessarily my idea, but maybe, kind of. And, so I kind of just wanted to go there and get involved there. But from the standpoint of, I did not know anything about it. I mean, do I like beer? Can I try 3 and tell you which one's better? At least in my opinion, sure. But in terms of operating and the sales aspect and the brewing aspect, packaging, we got the can printer. There's just a multitude of things that I just had to learn. And it took me months, and we, did have somebody else in the role of sales director and kind of head of operations until I was kind of ready to more or less take that over. Knowing what I know now, though, I definitely would have probably not made the same decisions. Should we have been in a 15-pack right off the rip? No. Should we have released probably 25 to 30 different brands and SKUs across the first year? No.
We were a little excited.
We got a lot.
You guys are like, this is gonna crush. Print, make it. Next one.
We got a lot of cool stuff up there, but that doesn't mean you can just start throwing crap out there and expect it to land. So we've gone through a lot of kind of shifting in the past year, kind of correcting our course,
like
more or
fine
less.
tuning it down a little.
Fine tuning, just kind of getting leaner and meaner.
Yeah.
We know what works. We know what doesn't work at this point. So it's kind of brought us to where we are today and launching new products, kind of finding our lane.
Yeah.
Do you guys just love booze? Like, were you?
I don't hate it.
Like, go home and crack a beverage kind of guys? Like, prior to all this, even.
From my background in the bar industry, I mean, that's part of your job.
just sip
People come in and they do samples all day. I mean, it's hard to get away from it. That's one of the reasons that I wanted to go work for the brewery, was to get a little less emphasis on the alcohol world and get more in the sales versus having to sample and create cocktails. I drink a beer usually when I get off work and I have to sample with accounts. I mean, I drink a decent amount.
Like a daily like a nice.
You got to know your product.
Jordan, what do you?
Yeah, I mean, weirdly enough,
we're doing your stats right now.
I
running your
was
numbers.
never-
He's writing them down on his.
At least one a day.
I'm good for like 365 a year.
I was never a big drinker, honestly, up until we opened up the Grand, which is the bowling alley on Main Street. And then when it opened, we actually lived above it for about a year. That changes a lot of things. When you can just walk downstairs, you got a full bar that your
Get the keys
in-laws and girlfriend at the time own. And it's like, well, okay. And then, you go through gaining 20 pounds because you're just drinking sours and stuff and craft beer every night. Kind of opens up your eyes a little bit. You're like, okay, all right, I can't do that anymore.
Right.
And you're not bowling enough to burn it all off.
Yeah.
Bowling, yeah, I don't know how much bowling really
It's
kind
like
of
20
turns off,
rounds
to
of
be
bowling to
honest.
work off
Did
a
you
roller
ever-
at least.
Did you ever mess with the robots to have them like bring them up to you?
If only, you know.
Get on the elevator.
I mean, I guess it wasn't too hard just to walk downstairs,
Right.
but yeah. We actually didn't have those at the time,
Yep.
but
That would
maybe,
be sweet.
maybe. They're kind of a pain already in the first place, so I couldn't imagine trying to get one of those
Right.
upstairs. But yeah, no, I mean, it's weird though, is I don't drink liquor. I actually don't drink any wine. I'm almost exclusively beer.
How about that?
And
I
that is-
hate wine. I'm so
can't
glad
get
you
into it
said
either.
that.
Why?
I want to, and everybody likes it, but I just can't.
I don't get it.
I-
And
yeah.
it gets me hot and bothered. Like, I think that's the best way to put it. It just
Like
doesn't-
temperature?
In a bad way.
No,
Like
I
aroused?
swear.
Aroused
No,
or
no, no.
temperature?
Yeah, match that
Not
with the
aroused,
voice.
like internal. Like, it just gets me like,
Yeah.
I want to say like mean, but it's like I feel like my internal temperature has risen.
Right.
Yeah.
And then maybe I'm not the nicest person out there, but yeah. It's actually Quinn was with me in Denver. Was the last time I actually drank wine. We were at the Craft Brewers conference. Everybody, I think Scott, Greg, Sarah, Quinn, myself, we were all there, and we went to a wine bar, and that was the last time I drank wine. Because, like I said, it just did something weird to me, and I was like, yeah, I'm done.
And I honestly don't think that people can tell the difference between a $300 bottle of wine and a $15. I've tried it. I've seen it. And maybe sometimes, or maybe there's like a really cheap one, but I've never seen it be consistently done. Even the sommeliers, we had a sommelier on here and she was giving us samples. And when she was explaining it, I could tell the difference. What she was saying, oh, there's some smokiness in that, or there's some special type of grape in this one. But I just,
Yeah, like do you taste a tennis ball at the end of that sip? It's like, oh yeah, now I do.
yeah, now that you say that, I
Now that
do.
you say
I haven't
I
tasted
think
a
I'm
tennis
picking
ball in
up
a
leather
while.
belt from this one. It's like random, yeah.
Right.
That's fair. Yeah, that's about right.
So what about this Yacht Rock White Ale?
What do the
Tell us
people
about
need to
that.
know?
Because this is huge that you guys are launching it on this
With
show.
with us on.
Yeah.
You guys
I
have
know.
saved it for a long time waiting to launch here.
So we found a gap in the market. There's a lot of white ales out there. And a lot of them either, I don't know if you guys are familiar with white ales. I drink them a decent
I
amount.
love a white ale.
There's either a lot going on or there's not quite enough going on. There's two ends of the spectrum. We try to land a beer that's right in the middle. And it also, something about white ales too, is they tend to linger on your palate, and we create really clean beer, as you're about to find out. It doesn't linger on your palate, so it doesn't really affect the food that you're eating while you're drinking it. It's like a really good beer, and then it just kind of disappears until you want another sip. It's got a little bit of orange, a little bit of coriander on it. So it's got a little of those like kind of winter spice that you'll get, but it's not too much. It's like dead set
Coriander?
in the middle.
Do I need to have a
Is
sip
Tom
of
going to be
this?
able to taste the
Oh, yeah.
coriander?
Crack one up and try it out.
Let's get a little.
Let's see if can you
to be a
explain coriander?
Sommelier here?
You want me to pick out all the notes that I
Yeah.
Yeah.
taste here?
Yeah, tell us what you
He'll
think.
tell you after. He's going to
Yeah.
write
Well,
down all
No
of
tennis
that.
ball.
Just
though.
from the, I smell a little coriander in there. Is that?
That's good. That's
Okay,
good.
yep.
A little orange.
Nice and cold.
It should be pretty cold.
Don't rush it. Keep thinking
Yeah,
about
yeah.
it.
I'm letting it dance a little
Yeah,
bit.
let it
Yeah,
sit on
let
your
it dance.
tongue.
Letting it
dance.
dance. I don't know what the hell I'm tasting.
You're gonna get a little like winter.
It tastes
spice and
good.
some
Let me
orange, yeah.
start there. Yeah, it tastes good. I don't taste like. I thought there'd be a little more citrusy in there, but I don't taste much.
You get a tiny bit of orange on the finish usually. That's about it.
Tiny bit, yeah.
That's
so
what cleans it up.
It does feel like my mouth is cleaner.
That's good.
Like it's like cleaning things.
yeah, I mean, when
It's
you think of
disinfecting.
You might want to use that.
when you think
a
of
quote
feels like it's
somewhere.
disinfecting
Put that on
things.
the
It's like Colgate in a can.
Yes, yes. I had some meat earlier. I think it's cleaning up some
Good,
stuck
that's
in
good.
yeah, when you think of Shock
this is-
Top, Blue Moon,
Yeah.
they're kind of in the same space.
Yeah.
They're typically served with an orange, so people want to kind of get that feel from it. We've kind of added a hint of it per
Yeah.
se.
nice.
But it's something we kind of really went forward with. We're in an ever-changing landscape on the brewing front and the craft beer front. Unfortunately, we are absolutely in a downturn. It's kind of started during COVID. We're seeing it across the Southeast. We're seeing it out west. Craft breweries, I mean, there are thousands of them.
Right.
Actually, I think the last CBC, I think they said, I could be totally wrong here, like 11,000 across
the country?
the 50 states.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Right.
COVID kind of started the process, and we're still seeing it now. There are definitely regional craft brewers that are not able to hang anymore.
Yeah.
For one reason or the other. We are also seeing a influx of new products, of new generations that have just a different, feel and taste for what they want. So it just changes our landscape quite a bit. And that is something which helps us because we are always looking for the next thing. We're always growing and trying to be on the forefront. So that has placed us well to be able to manage and accommodate this ever-changing space. But this Yacht Rock White Ale kind of came along because something that is very known around here, but is the White Zombie Ale from Catawba Brewing Company. They were a staple here in the Southeast, and they are slowly kind of going away.
Wow. That's a massive brand.
When I first moved here, it was the first time I heard of it, and it would be everywhere. But now, now that you say that, I haven't seen it.
What about Westbrook White Tie? Isn't that like Charleston? How are they doing?
They're solid.
Okay.
Westbrook's fine. They're one of the
Westbrook's
larger
good,
craft breweries.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the state, I think they're the largest.
Yeah. They're the ones that he's talking about are just the smaller, more like microbreweries, things like that just aren't quite as big that are closing.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just entering a different space, getting in bed with different people. On the craft beer front, I mean, there was large injections from AB wanting to buy craft breweries. Private equity wanted to get involved. At the end of the day, it didn't necessarily work. AB actually sold off a lot of their craft beer brands that they had acquired in the 2014, 2015. Tilray, who's a major group out of Canada on the cannabis front, acquired a lot of those brands.
Really?
Acquired Sweetwater. So they are changing, how we think about a craft brewery as well. Like I said, it's just, especially since we've gotten involved, it's one thing I've definitely had to pick up on is this isn't just making beer. This isn't just, making something good and getting it out there. It is a very, fluid, quickly moving space.
Well, I think of like my parents or Tom's parents or my friends' parents. They all just had their Budweiser or Bud Light or Miller Lite or whatever they had, and that they just drank the same thing every day.
Over and over.
Mm-hmm. And then our generation, I think, was more open to trying new things or didn't want to be having the same thing as everybody else. And now it sounds like, what's this next generation doing compared to that?
Yep. It's almost like that bubble started in like the mid 90s, and now it's taken this long for it to start to kind of burst, and then we're going to see who's left at the end of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Interesting.
So how many different alcoholic drinks do you guys have and non-alcoholic drinks?
So for non-alcoholic, we only have our D9 and CBD seltzers thus far. We have plans to increase that section as time goes on. Alcoholic products, I'd say we have about 12 right now per year with limited releases. Maybe
12?
10, well, I'll say 10.
We got about 30.
30?
30?
Really?
So
I don't get all those in my mind.
Oh yeah. So we
Gotta read
that was
those
another
emails.
that was another interesting piece of kind of how we started. We looked at doing a seasonal a seasonal calendar, seasonal release. So while we had Golden Ale and New England IPA as our two mains, the other three, spring, summer, fall, winter, swapped.
Gotcha.
And then last year, I think we had a total of 7, maybe 8 limited releases as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you had 12 on the one side.
Yeah.
We had the New England, the limited, and that's not even including seltzer. Seltzers were on a kind of like
It's seasonal as well.
it's slightly seasonal. We cut out one season, so we kind of have like thirds across the year.
What
season don't you guys like?
I don't think winter does super well for seltzers.
Winter.
So we really look towards spring, summer, and summer really lasts pretty long for us here in Columbia. So you can really keep drinking and enjoying them through October, if not November sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be 80 degrees here roughly on Wednesday in February. So pop out a seltzer, have a good time.
Get out on your yacht.
Yeah, exactly.
And rock.
And you guys have, when you have because I got a couple emails where I would send my wife. I'd be like, "Hey, you got to go pick up however many cases they let you guys get." Because
Limited?
is it a limited?
So they
or
actually,
it's an overproduction or you switch to your new one?
well, it's not even just that. So they actually just changed it. So a producing facility was only able to sell, I believe it was only just like a case a day per person.
Okay.
That's it. So, you know, even though we don't have a retail space up at North Main, we were still able to sell a case per person per day.
Gotcha.
But you would do it on certain
How do
days,
you really
right?
get
Like
people
pickup days.
up there? Yeah.
Yeah.
So we do it usually on a Thursday through Friday. But you know, how do you really draw people in? Like, hey, yeah, drive out of your way, come pick up a case. It's discounted. But then they changed that. I believe actually last year.
Yeah, you can get up to a 6-barrel, I think now.
You can get up to a 6-barrel. You get something like 800 fluid ounces or 700 fluid ounces, something in the range of that. But you can pick up to like 4 cases now, 3 cases now of beer from us. So that's something, you know, we want to do more now. We want people to come up there. Unfortunately, sometimes we have people that roll up thinking it's a tap room. I've seen it a few times recently, and I feel really bad. Thankfully, I've run into them personally, and I go out there and be like, sorry, we're just a production facility. Can't really get a beer here. But here are some great places to go get some beer, including smoked.
And the Grand.
But yeah, so yeah, you were able to pick up a good bit more beer now, which is nice.
Makes it a little more enticing for
on top of that,
customers to come.
Yeah.
we're able to bond and transfer now, which
What's that mean?
we were not able to do before. So because we owned North Main and Smoked, which are both production facilities, before you were not able to actually transfer beer.
Oh.
So say we were brewing stuff up at North Main, wanted to send it to Smoked, that would still have to go outside to a
Like a distributor or
distributor,
Then they would have
and
to
back to
deliver it.
Smoked.
Really? That's weird.
And they would take their cut. I mean, they're not
Yeah,
just going to be like,
yeah.
oh, yeah, sure, let me take this beer over for you.
Right.
So now, and including Columbia Craft, we were able to bond and transfer between all three
Nice.
facilities now, which is nice because North Main obviously is a lot more efficient, has the equipment to, you know, produce at scale, which cuts down our costs on those fronts because, you know, we don't have to make it all there.
Right.
On site in a smaller format, we're able to make it up at North Main, put it in a keg, put it in a barrel, ship it out, and
It's nice.
I don't have to pay anybody else.
That's what I love. I love the idea of just coming to the place in Columbia and picking it all up. Whenever we have events or parties or something, I just plan to do that message. But I think it was only 2. I think I was only allowed to get 2 at a time before, but maybe now that's switched to 3.
Yep.
Why did that change? Did somebody lobby for it?
Yes, we do actually have Myrtle. Yes.
Oh,
We need a photo of Myrtle.
So,
Does he have an Instagram?
He's at the State House.
He doesn't know what social media is. That's
Myrtle?
for sure.
We got to find Myrtle.
He's been a big advocate for making beer, producing beer, and having breweries, having tap rooms. You know, they can't really say anything else other than the cards are stacked against, you know, starting up a production facility and trying to make beer and just have people enjoy it. There are a lot of other powers that be
Right.
that have a lot of money and a lot of power to kind of dictate how this all plays out. And finally, we got a win. It had been a long time coming. It's pretty much what every other state does already. We're just one of the last ones to do it, which happens here in South Carolina with a few things from time to time. But yeah, no, so that was really big. And we're hoping we can continue that and we can play off of that win to, you know, secure some other things that would go a long way for us in building a craft beer environment here in South Carolina, as we see pretty much everywhere else for the most part. I mean, as you look at North Carolina, Asheville, Charlotte, Georgia, and Athens, Atlanta, Florida now, everyone has a pretty big craft brew scene.
Yeah.
South Carolina's just been a little bit behind, and we have great craft breweries here, but they are not at the scale of what we see in some of these other states. So, our hope and belief is that Peak Drift, Columbia Craft, what Craft Brew Inc does, can continue to grow and become that regional power player. Not only for us, but to just kind of continue to grow this space and what we can do. And that's kind of how we set up our facility on North Main. Really, the biggest piece of equipment that we have doesn't even relate to brewing beer. It relates to can printing. Something that never even crossed my mind. As we talked about this, as we picked out the name, we were in Denver, and Greg and Scott actually came across it. They found a can printer and had a conversation with this guy, and next thing you know, they were like,
ship it.
We should do this.
Wow.
It is insanely expensive. I was like, okay.
And then how do you find somebody to operate that thing?
We really didn't. We found
Send Quinn
an
over there. Hey, Quinn, you got a new job.
Figure this out.
We found an awesome guy named Justin, and eventually an awesome girl named Katie. And they've just learned. They have learned how to operate this very technical machine.
Right.
It looks like a spaceship
It's
if you
wild.
open it up. It prints 400 cans a minute.
What? You
Yeah.
can't wrap your mind around that, Randall.
That's a lot. 400 a minute?
It does a lot. But why we bought it was because, the whole goal of Peak Drift and what we were doing at North Main was to be environmentally friendly, or as much as absolutely possible, given that we are brewing beer. Yeah. We're using a lot of water. We're using a good bit of electricity, and a lot of smaller craft brands have to use labeling, wraps, shrink wraps, something that ultimately is not able to go into a recycling center. They pretty much toss those out. Some people try to do a whole, tear off thing and hope that the actual consumer will take it off. And
It rarely happens.
I'm not doing that.
maybe
Tom's definitely
not.
maybe a few people. So that's kind of how we got the can printer, and honestly didn't quite know what we were getting ourselves in for, because actually what we found out shortly after that, we were the only can printer on the East Coast.
Wow.
The next closest one is really in St. Louis, and there's one in Ohio. There's plans that have
Is this
more.
a new thing, or is it
Come on.
a not
Not
that popular thing?
Not really. So this machinery actually came into place because they were printing hairspray bottles and things like that. And they're like, oh, we could turn this into can printing or other things. But yeah, we got nobody else around us that actually has one of these things.
Yeah.
And even on the forefront, had no idea. This year, we could potentially do 10 million printed cans.
Jeez, that's cool.
Which I think the numbers that you guys probably have, we've only probably printed, a little over 1.5 million thus far.
Wow.
But the scale and the potential of this thing to produce the thing is huge.
Who's doing the art on these? Like, who's the graphic person, and why did they choose Randy and I for Yacht Rock?
The models.
So a lot of the art has been, a collaborative effort from the team. We've had this cool guy named Jason out west. I've always heard initially, because I didn't start working with him when he first kind of came on and, made Gold Nail and Nipa and everything else. But allegedly he lives in Aspen.
Really?
He's been involved in the beer world and in making cans or art, the art behind the cans for quite a while now. And I think he did the PBR refresh or something along the lines of that. But
cool.
Long story short, we kind of just found him, and he kind of partnered with us, and we send him kind of what we're looking for. He sends stuff back. And that's kind of what we do now.
Sweet.
But, we've grown that in-house as well. Katie, who's a part of the can printer, also is a designer and has done some great work as well. But yeah, no, it's always just kind of been a fun thing to do. I mean, if you talk to anybody, as we look to kind of, continue to partner with folks across South Carolina, everybody wants their own can.
Right.
Everybody wants to have the fun of just even thinking about or creating,
Right.
or, the art behind a can. And it's kind of cool. I mean, I kind of want to do that too. I used to draw when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
And, doesn't really go
Like a sailboat.
Doesn't really go a long way now, unfortunately. But yeah, so no, it's been a really cool kind of thing to lean into and grow. We've pretty much gone from producing, I don't know, maybe 40,000 cans a month to 160,000 cans a month to we should be hitting close to 400,000 now.
And then you got to put them somewhere, or like you got to get them out of there quick, right?
Got to get them out quick. We have an additional 30,000 square foot warehouse
Just storage.
that is, I don't know, like 300 feet away.
Yeah.
So thankfully we have that part figured out to some degree, but it's still a lot of cans. Still a lot of stuff coming in and out. That's why we have built a great team to kind of continue to manage that. And yeah, there are a lot of moving pieces.
Yeah.
I can't deny that.
How good are you two at the forklift? Like, do you guys ever?
I don't know how to drive it at all.
No?
No, I stay away from it.
I would be.
Apparently it's not hard.
I did it in
is-
between calls.
It is
And it
definitely
was no problem.
not hard. I think just about everybody at North Main knows how to drive a
Yeah.
forklift and are forklift certified. However, I will leave that to them.
Yeah.
A
A lot of forklift accidents out there.
Yep. We are very careful. That is something we are definitely, always in the back of our head is safety first.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this is still a space that has a lot of hazards, has, things that can potentially harm you. And, that is the last thing that we want to happen.
Yeah.
So it's safety first. It is being careful, mindful, that comes first before anything else that we're
Yeah.
trying to do there.
He loves safety, Randy.
I love safety.
He's when he's adjusting,
I can see
sometimes he
that.
throws a helmet on just in case.
No, I love seat belts and I love helmets.
There you go.
Sometimes elbow pads and knee pads.
So, do you remember back in the day when beer commercials were so cool?
Yes.
Like you would watch
unfortunately.
TV and just love the beer commercials.
It's
and
been a long time.
It's terrible now. There's
Yeah.
nothing. I can't even think of a beer commercial in the last 15 years that has been cool.
I think Budweiser's trying again with the one comedian dude.
Shane
Gillis.
Shane Gillis,
Yes. Sorry, I kind of blanked on his name. But I think
It's
they're
tough.
trying to bring
I think
that
with
back
society, like
because
everything that's changed in society, you could say things back then or do things back then.
it's
that-
different. Absolutely. But yeah.
Shane Gillis, did you see the video where Shane Gillis was talking about meeting with his doctor? And his doctor goes, "How many drinks a week do you have?" And he goes, "I know everybody lies to you. I just want to tell you the truth." He goes, "I average 70 a week."
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And his doctor's like, "There's
Not
probably
really.
everything wrong." He did all the blood work. He's like, "Nope, you're
Nope,
fine."
you're
He's
fine.
like, "All right, cool."
Thanks for telling me, though. But yeah, no, I mean, as we got literally Super Bowl coming up this weekend,
Yep.
Right.
even when I was younger, obviously couldn't even touch beer. But hell,
You look forward, yeah.
the Budweiser, the Bud Light
Right,
commercial
yes.
at the very beginning, that was usually the very first commercial, was always like,
Yep.
that's gonna be the best one.
Yeah.
Because it was
Yep.
always really funny. Like the guy's parachuting or something, and the guy throws out the 6-pack or something. I don't know.
I remember
It
there
was a
was so
long
many.
time
Yeah.
ago,
Yes.
but it was really funny, I promise.
They also had the one with like the little frogs and stuff
Yes.
too. Like, yeah, they were all great.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
All right, tell us about the THC D9 bangers.
I'll Quinn start
All
that
right,
off.
so these are
These are how new are they first?
they're pretty new. So we launched these. It was like the end of July.
About the end of July.
So July
6
2024.
months.
Yep.
We tested them and worked on them for about a year prior to that, just to kind of test everything in the market, learn as much about these as we can, because we are backed by a healthcare company. That was kind of our emphasis on these. Is you go out, and I'm also the sampling and testing department for these too. So I've had to sample a lot of other products to kind of determine where we want ours to land in that spectrum.
Yeah.
These are really cool. It's a wave that kind of just started building over the past 2 years. A lot of people thought it would crash. I don't think it's crashing anytime soon. the more knowledge is readily available, the more people learn about their bodies and some of the negative aspects of over drinking or drinking too much during the week. These just become more and more prevalent in those situations. They're pretty much the opposite of an alcoholic beverage. They decrease your risk of heart disease. They don't dehydrate you. They don't raise your liver enzymes. They create kind of like a sense of calm and relaxation that I think as busier as the world gets and as closer as we all get into each other, we don't really have as much time for that anymore as we used to. So that's kind of right where these things come into play.
Nice.
Just a healthier option, but still gives you a little bit of a let off, like a little bit of like an ease and kind of a euphoria that you get.
Can you drink these and drive?
I would not suggest it. So I treat these, the laws are pretty much the same. Treat this like a light beer.
Really?
Yeah. Treat it like a light beer, basically in the amount that you would consume and what you would want it. If you would feel safe driving after a certain number of light beers, then kind of treat this the same way. I still wouldn't suggest it though.
How about that?
So there's milligrams. I think you explained it to me a little bit on the tour.
Yeah.
Because I know zero about. I don't even understand how it's legal to do it. Maybe let's start there.
Okay, cool. So to start there, I need to go in like briefly into a little bit of how these even affect your body. Is that cool?
Sure.
I'll just do like
Love
surface
that.
level.
We're
All right,
gonna
cool.
use this at the
So
clinic too.
cannabis is the plant that we're talking about. It's been around for about 26 million years. What do plants do? They adapt to their environment because they want to spread their seed. They want to spread their genetics. They want to last to the next generation. In doing that, over millions of years, they've actually adapted to create chemical compounds called cannabinoids that interact with any living animal on this planet that breathes oxygen. It reacts with their endocannabinoid system. So every animal on this planet that breathes oxygen has what's called an ECS, the endocannabinoid system. It's literally, I guess the best way to describe it is it's like the communication device between your brain and either your nervous system or your intramusculatory system. It does this and communicates to your body through two different types of receptors. So there's CB1 receptors and there's CB2 receptors. CB1 receptors are mostly dealing with like psychoactive properties of it, so they're in your brain. CB2 receptors are mostly spread throughout your body, your musculatory system. They're mostly dealing with like body pain, inflammation, things like that. Excuse me. Got a little cotton mouth.
Cocktail.
Got excited there. Started spitting off some
once you hit the
science.
C1 and 2.
So with those two things being said, cannabis has been around for about 26 million years. It's adapted to create chemical compounds that interact with our bodies, that interact with the ECS, which is the communication device between your brain and your body. In the cannabis plant, there's two different kind of classifications. There's hemp and there's marijuana. Marijuana is the one that has high concentrations of delta-9, which is psychoactive. That's one of the things that makes it gets you a little more inebriated. It's the one that's legal or not legal in states. It's the big topic of conversation over the past couple of years. There's CBD as well. CBD is another chemical compound. That one's non-psychoactive. It only deals with your CB2 receptors. So it's non-psychoactive. There's no anxiety, nothing that comes from that. It's just gonna relax your body, relieve inflammation, things like that. We chose those two chemical compounds because together, the D9 can give you that little bit of uplifting euphoria. The CBD brings you back down, relaxes your body, and also negates any of some of the negative aspects of this. So because everybody's ECS, your endocannabinoid system, is a little bit different, everybody reacts to these compounds differently. When you add CBD to them, it calms down any negative effects that you would ever get from these. So with me being the testing department, I've had a lot of these things to kind of figure out the ill effects or the good effects or what that does. The worst thing that will happen with our product specifically is you'll just get the best night of sleep you've ever had. They're just gonna relax you.
Yeah,
You're not really gonna be inebriated. You're not gonna get any like anxiety or paranoia or anything.
No hangovers.
Not at all. Yeah, you actually get better sleep, which is nice. You
I
wake
feel
up
like
feeling
this
refreshed.
is like, why wouldn't most drinkers move to this?
That's actually what's happening.
What's happening? Yeah.
South Carolina is one of the fastest growing states in the non-alcoholic segment in our nation. So I don't know if that's because there's a lot more drinkers here, maybe that are switching over, but there's a lot more sober, curious people in our state than there are in any other state in this nation. So it's growing pretty
This
quickly.
feels like the summer bev.
Oh, it is. It's an all-time bev. I drink these after I go to the gym sometimes. It helps with inflammation. I had shoulder
post-pump,
surgery, knee surgery in high school from playing sports, and these help with that a lot.
Nice.
So one thing that I'm excited about is the idea that you can dose it with some level of accuracy or with a high level of accuracy, because The thing that's always scared me about any drug is the idea of taking it but not knowing, not
The
having a
effects.
commercially packaged, dosed, proper amount. Like if you go to alcohol and it says 5% on a beer, you know it's going to be 5%. Or if you go and have vodka and it says 40%, you know it's going to be 40%. But I always felt like if somebody was doing any sort of drug off the street or that they grew themselves, they had no way of dosing it properly.
Yeah, I would imagine you'd probably have no idea unless you like were to buy from a dispensary or somewhere along those lines where they have a little more control over it. But yeah, with these, we dose these to the level we did. We have two different strengths. So the peach is a lower strength. It's 5 milligrams Delta 9, 10 milligrams CBD. And all of our drinks have at least 10 milligrams of CBD just to negate any negative effects you could get. And then we have the pineapple and blood orange hibiscus. Those are both 10 and 10. So those are the higher dose. But even at a higher dose, we're within any regulations that they would probably eventually set for this state. We did that for a reason because there are some out there that are doing 20 and 50 milligrams where
60.
You drink one of those, that's a day changer. You're not doing anything the rest of the day besides holding onto the earth and I hope you don't fall off of it, basically.
At 60 milligrams is where someone would feel that?
50 and 60, depending on your tolerance. And
Anybody would.
Again, though, the crazy thing about these, or the most interesting thing, is that everybody's ECS, your endocannabinoid system, reacts differently. It may be, you may have more CB1 receptors or more CB2 receptors than the person next to you. So you guys could drink the same amount or ingest, not with these because they have CBD, but other amounts of another product, and you would react completely differently, or you could react completely differently, which is kind of some of the mystery behind these compounds.
Probably because my muscle mass is bigger than Randy's, I would be fine.
Yeah, you're like twice his size at least.
Well, so when I drink different, I have different alcohols, then I feel different and respond different.
Yeah.
Whiskey may make you want to fight more. Vodka may make you happier. Whatever the different response is it like that within the weed maybe weed's the wrong word. Is weed the wrong word now? The cannabis world.
Is the better term, but so with these and with our product specifically, that doesn't come into play. What you're referring to is indica versus sativa, but with ours, because of the compounds we use, the Delta 9 and CBD we use are actually broken down to their nanomolecular level. So it's broken down to the actual base level of the molecule. There's no taste, there's no like mouthfeel, there's no bitterness. If you didn't know that there was CBD and Delta 9 in these drinks, you would have no idea.
Right.
Because they taste like a LaCroix if LaCroix actually tasted like the flavor that was on the side of it, like the full flavor. They taste great.
Yeah.
So if someone had 15 of these.
Well, what's the how many of these
I wouldn't suggest it, but they're gonna go to sleep in about 2 hours and they're gonna get the best night of sleep they've ever had. Yeah.
Okay.
Is there like two of these to one beer, or any ratios that you guys have figured out? Or?
So with the low dose ones, I equate those to like a Bud Light level beer, like 4% alcohol, very low ABV, something you can drink maybe like 3 or 4 of and still be okay. The higher dose ones, I would equate those more to like a craft beer. So like 5-6%, a little bit higher alcohol that you maybe only want to have like 1 or 2 of. If you're at your home, I mean, you could have more than that, obviously. If you're at your house, obviously, you could have more of those and kind of determine in a safe environment how those are going to affect you, which is what I would suggest. But really the best way to even try these, if you've never had them, go with the low dose first, the Peach Days. It's only 9 calories. It's not going to hurt your diet. Drink half the can first. Within about 15 minutes, because of the nanomolecular level we break these compounds down to, it hits your body in about 15 minutes. How you feel in that first 15 minutes is how you're going to feel for the next like hour to an hour and a half.
Oh, nice.
So at that point, if you're comfortable with that, drink the other half of the can, good to go. That's the best way to kind of dose these out in this delivery system that I can kind of portray.
Yeah, it's nails on the head right there.
It's so interesting. I've never had any sort of THC in my life, or CBD actually. And I think it was because the dosing, the idea of it just like being illegal was just like, all right, I'm just not going to do it. But I think the laws seem to be changing and moving, right? I heard Florida is basically on the verge of making it totally
Somewhat
legal.
Yep.
Medicinal's legal now down there.
Medicinal legal. And so where's South Carolina in that space?
Probably be last.
We'll
again.
probably be last, more than likely.
if we're being honest.
Yeah.
The regulatory aspect of it. I mean, really, for the product as a whole, regulations, everything included, we are in the Wild West. There are states going in vastly different directions right now. products going in vastly different directions right now. I mean, the fact that there is a 60 milligram product out there kind of blows my mind. Georgia, they max it at 10.
10 milligram max.
Texas is trying to do away with it entirely. We in South Carolina will have a couple things this spring that will shake out probably where we will land. Don't exactly know which direction we're going to go yet, but being able to play within the space that I think is going to be set at, or, is where we try to be. And that's where we think we are with our products. And as we look at this compared to alcohol, this is something that is, I think we got a 1 calorie, a 3 calorie, and a 9 calorie.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's pretty good.
Right.
1 calorie, 3 calorie, and 9 calorie.
1 calorie, 3 and 9. And weirdly enough, I think the 5 milligrams, the highest calorie
Peach,
one.
it is. It's the 9.
The peach. But as we look towards what this is going to be, or what this could become, depends on how each state kind of wants to go about it. But I mean, we can't deny that this is a healthier alternative to alcohol,
right,
and to what we are making. I mean, that's why we wanted to get into this, product and space, was because, I mean, I hate to say it, but it's hedging our bets.
Yeah.
Craft beer is down right now. Taproom sales aren't the same they used to be 3 years ago. Gen Z is definitely not drinking as much alcohol as any generation before them. If that continues, we'll see. But they are looking for alternatives. This is one of those. I think being able to play in this space, have a product that, just works. Like I said, we went through a lot of testing. Actually, our second batch is about to hit the market. We've refined our ingredients and our process. I think it will actually be a better product once it releases, probably about March now. Same 3 flavors. However, it's just what we can do past this. Right now, it is a consumer fun beverage. If you go to California, you go to Colorado, THC, CBD touches everything.
Right.
Healthcare products. It is not just a have fun drink. It is roll-on stuff. It is headache stuff. It is shampoo.
Yeah.
It is everything under the sun.
Yeah.
Just about. And as we are moving towards a acceptance and a kind of general just this is a thing now. I mean, this wasn't a thing even 5 years ago. It was still, illegal. It was still kind of, shunned upon to, but it's here.
Yeah.
And it's changing quickly. We got involved. We are refining what we're doing to offer the best product. We actually partnered with a actual Delta 9, Delta 8 CBD manufacturer. So we are not just making a drink right now. We are involved in the actual process of making the thing.
Like growing it?
Not yet.
I was gonna say, like, do you guys just have a street guy that drops off a bag?
We definitely don't have a street guy.
Hey, Quinn, go
Actually-
test that out. Make sure it's good.
No, I will say, I mean, these guys are major. I think we got one guy out of the University of Alabama, another guy at the University of South Carolina, and 2 guys from a major pharmaceutical group that are behind this product and what they're putting forward, and playing in this space as well as it is turning to a thing. Because, I mean, one thing, if you want to listen to them, I think they probably are not definitely making stuff up, but, we have tested this stuff as a government and as the United States for quite a while, dating back to the 60s and 70s. And if you believe them, we have suppressed a lot of it as well. This has overarching medical implications and benefits, anywhere from inflammation to heart disease to
There's a million
The
different
protection
things.
of your liver
There's-
alone is like massive.
There's a million things. I
Yeah.
mean, is this the next big thing? I mean, there's something new
Right,
every day,
right.
but this is something that is a plant. It is natural. And there are so many different strains and variations of it that I think as it becomes more socially available and accepted and adopted, we will just continue to see this space and segment grow into not just a fun, cool, drink to just
It won't be such a niche.
Everything.
It'll become
Yeah.
more widespread.
Well, it's kind of nice, like, because seltzers made a nice run, and they felt like there needed to be something new. This
Yeah.
feels like the new, the next stage,
yeah.
which is nice.
And seltzers, you think of like White Claw, Truly, everything else. I mean, we have our own alcoholic seltzer line as well. We treated those a little bit different.
Yeah.
We try to be more natural. We really did something, as my wife likes to call them, micro bubbles. When you think of your typical White Claw, you think of kind of getting bloated. It is very carbonated. It is very bubbly. Sure, are they fun on a boat in July? Yes, but you drink 4 or 5 of those, and you're probably not going to feel super great later.
Yeah.
With what we have at North Main, we were able to just make them less carbonated. It's the same kind of taste, the same kind of mouthfeel, as we say, but it's not going to bloat you.
Right,
It's
that
not
is
going to
nice.
You
just
tighten up the carbonation and make smaller bubbles, so you can actually. So when you have those big bubbles like you have in White Claw, it's when it burns your tongue. When you drink it, it tastes like
Yeah.
static electricity a little bit.
Yeah.
Tastes like static electricity a little bit. That's because of the big bubbles. When they pop on your tongue, it's releasing some flavor. If you have smaller bubbles, you're able to taste what you're trying to drink a little bit more. It doesn't hide it, and also it doesn't bloat you as much. It doesn't make you feel as full, so you want another one. And if you're on a boat, you don't want to feel bloated anyways. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
You want to show your six pack
Exactly.
off.
exactly
Yeah.
6-pack or dad bod, whatever you got going on. But you know.
2-pack, whatever.
I like that you kind of leaned into the government conspiratorial side of it.
Not that I meant to,
because
but
I
I've
want
heard-
I want to know what you're into conspiracy wise.
Not that I'm necessarily. I mean,
Did we ask Sarah this?
I don't.
probably
sure.
not. I don't know. I've heard a lot more of it recently, just because we have partnered and we've grown closer to the people that are doing this, that are making the CBD and THC, and allegedly, a couple of these guys have been working on this for the government per se, since as early as the 1970s.
Oh, the old moon landing days.
And
Oh, this
Now I
is
know.
definitely extracting
Yep.
into other beliefs too.
But there were a lot of benefits that did derive from this plant, that they just didn't let out there, more or less. We talk about, THCA, THCC. There's all sorts
There's
of them.
CBN. There's a million of them. The CBD and D9 are 2 of hundreds of useful cannabinoid compounds in this plant. There's just only 2 out of the hundreds that we
Yeah.
use.
And
Gotcha.
they said we pretty much have the A through Z, but people only know about 3 of them.
Right.
And that a lot of these just have additional medical benefits that just aren't necessarily known right now. They've always had this taboo against them for being an illegal drug, for being probably, involved in the 70s and the movements behind that, or
Jamaica.
but also that it makes people lazy, or makes this and that and everything else. I mean, that's not necessarily true.
Right.
I mean, it all depends on the person. It all depends on, what you are looking to do with it. But I think at the end of the day, what we will see as a medicinal benefit from the future of this plant could definitely go a long way and could upset some of the normal things that we see now. And not that we are involved in this space either, but we see the same thing on the mushroom side.
Yeah.
psilocybin.
Yeah.
It's again something that, oh my God, it's a mushroom and it's, gonna do this crazy thing to me. But there are a lot of mushrooms that have a lot of medicinal factors and benefits that we necessarily or don't necessarily take advantage of but we are starting to now. Like I said, it's really opened up different gates and pathways to what we could do in this space, what I think people will start seeing more and more out in the market. I don't think we're too far away from seeing these products in grocery stores and seeing them in convenience stores and everywhere else. That we are on the edge of this becoming full-blown just there.
Where can people buy your the D9 seltzers right now?
So you can find them at most of the bars on Main Street.
Okay.
In downtown Columbia. You can also find them at all of the bottles and all of the Greens beverage stores in the entire state.
So they can't. So you because of laws, it's not hitting Publix or some of these other.
They're still trying to figure out their regulations on it, I think, and whether they want to bring this into the space now or later. They may be waiting for it to become a little more prevalent in the market first before they actually start bringing them in.
Yeah, it's been changing quickly. I mean, we've had word that, we're almost there, and the first major chain is going to pick them up shortly.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we are seeing a lot of different angles of attack from state to state of how they are going to handle this, how they're going to regulate it, and everything else. So I don't blame them for waiting and kind of seeing where we're at. I think we're seeing that also with a lot of the major beer brands as well. I think they're all eager and waiting to get into the space. And we have seen some. PBR has one available out in California and Colorado. However, it's not a Delta 9. It is a straight THC beverage. And maybe they're just waiting for it to go fully legalized or whatever it may be. And they're just going to wait on that play. But a lot of others are getting into this Delta 9 space, which really comes from the 2018-2019 Farm Bill, which was basically the carve out for the hemp space. Yeah. It just factored in Delta 8, Delta 9, Delta 10 to varying degrees.
It's because they're derived from hemp plants.
But yeah, they are derived from hemp plants.
Versus the marijuana plant.
Again, it's just one of those products, though. I mean, even hemp and what hemp can do on its own, even outside of a drink or making you feel some kind of certain way, that we're just seeing the shift in. I think there were a lot of roadblocks there. There was a lot of lobbying behind it to kind of keep it off of the table. And, we finally got a win there, per se, and it's kind of opening up the floodgates. So it's making it an interesting space, to say the least.
Yeah. Now, what do you guys, from a marketing standpoint, how do you guys decide on how much to put into marketing, making merch? Like, do you guys have a budget for dollars on that?
This product specifically or overall?
Just I guess in general, and then maybe break if like you might say like, all right, we're gonna push this much towards the launch of D9 or Yacht Rock.
Sure. Yeah. I think a large part now, when we first started, when Peak Drift first launched, outside of just beer, we definitely threw a lot of things at the wall.
Yeah.
We had quite a large spend behind getting this off the ground. One aspect that we definitely anticipated and plan on having was a retail space, was a tap room that you could come buy stuff, enjoy it, experience it, but it also anchors marketing. It anchors our advertising and kind of giving it the place and the story and the feeling behind it. But unfortunately, with building it during a pandemic and going through that, we had to put that off. And we launched a brand with having an upscale restaurant as really the only place to come in and see it. And those don't necessarily,
I got a dog chew toy that had from Peak Drift from years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't have a dog.
Those are very popular.
So it was cool.
But no, I mean, I think it was
You just hung on to it because you liked it?
I liked it. It was like in the shape of a can.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, those are sweet. Those are like $8 a pop, though.
Really?
Yeah.
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 I was going to say, there was a ton of merch.
We give them away.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it's really, like I said, I mean, even when it comes to marketing, advertising, it's just becoming leaner and meaner. Yeah. We tried a lot of things. We went down a lot of paths. We put our name in a bunch of stuff.
Right.
That doesn't necessarily mean you're going to sell beer. That doesn't mean you're going to get into every restaurant or every market that you want to get into just because you have these things.
You know what I miss, and I don't know if they still do it, like beer girls. Like when I was in college, there were always just like good-looking beer girls walking around, skimpy clothes, saying, "Here's a Miller Lite, Tom," and I appreciated it.
Yeah.
Are we thinking we need to spend?
You're talking about the flying saucer, basically. Yeah.
Well, I was in Pittsburgh, but yeah, similar sort of thing.
Okay. I was born in Pittsburgh.
Oh, you were? Nice. Yeah. So I mean, you always look forward to it. It's like, hey, because they had free booze. Then you got to, maybe if you never had a Miller Lite, you'd go, let me see what that tastes like. Do we want to throw some marketing?
I'm the girl now, basically, is how it works. Yeah. When we go to bars and do tap
You're doing the
tables,
skimpy clothes.
Quinn,
I throw on some short shorts and a tank top, and I walk around to the tables and get them to buy beer.
Quinn's done everything. Quinn has had a leprechaun costume on.
I had a T-shirt cannon, too.
He had a T-shirt cannon. He was on the back of a float.
Yeah. For the St. Patrick's Day parade.
So, I mean, we've done a lot of cool things. We've gone down a lot of roads and avenues and getting our name out there, getting our product sold. They don't all work.
Yeah.
You don't always see a return. You ultimately realize, wow, I cannot believe we ever spent money on that.
Right.
So yeah, no, it's a lot of just learning curve.
Sure.
Seeing what's out there. Because I mean, again, if we were in the Charlotte market, if we were in Asheville, if we were out west, you could, I mean, people will fall out of a tree and can come work for you at a brewery.
Right.
Whether it be packaging, maintenance, brewing beer, they are everywhere out there. We are in Columbia, South Carolina. We do not have that luxury. We also do not exactly have an abundant amount of, support from a variety of angles and degrees in building this brand. We have successful brands here in the state for sure. But we have also seen some of those go away even in the last 2 years. Multiple breweries out of Greenville. Same for Charleston and the coast.
Yep.
But it's to some degree kind of just making your own path.
Yeah.
And trust me, we definitely put a lot towards marketing. We've drawn that back now to having a proper budget. I mean, we were, for all intents and purposes, a startup company for 2 years. Going to the year 3 now, it is to come off of that. It is to not rely on that, we're a startup and we're going to continue to spend money here and we're going to keep trying this thing and see if it works. Now it's just, no, we know it works now. We know how to attract people that can take us to the next level. We know what avenues to go down that takes us to a next level, how to sell more product. I think that's been the biggest change in what we've seen here in the last really year as we've learned how to go about it.
Do you think that the tap room will become a thing in the future? Like, is that like just vision wise, or do you just see it now to stick with production and?
I could easily see both. I think from North Main and what we kind of see up there, I mean, it was the stone manufacturing spot. They were in manufacturing textiles. They made the first boxer brief in the entire country.
Really?
They had the entire Umbro.
Yeah.
I was just talking about Umbros the other day.
I think they made the elastic bands.
Really?
For all the shorts, yeah.
Because Sambas are back, and I thought, are the checkered Umbros back?
So Umbro, if you had any Umbro clothing in the 90s, it was made right here in Columbia.
I loved Umbro.
So Umbro actually contracted their entire North American production out of that facility there that we are currently in. That's actually where we started off with naming, is we wanted to try to get back to stone or boxers or something like that. That's why it took 8 months. It is hard to name something at the time, I guess it was 2022, but all the cool names are gone.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I think with where we landed with Peak Drift and kind of where we're at now, but it's just, since I got slightly sidetracked, what was your question? I was on to something, the tap room. That's what it was. So yeah, no, I think with North Main, with the partnerships that we have turned on, that we have on the forefront, that we continue to do, I think we see that as a spot where we make things.
Could do that, yeah.
Where we bring in other groups and we continue to build that out as a manufacturing spot. We have additional options as it relates to a tap room here in Columbia, as it relates to a potential tap room across the state. To some degree, we took a large bite out of the apple, and it's time to kind of focus. And like I said, it goes back to the whole leaner and meaner, but let's not get in our own way with having too much out there, with having too many plans, and let's focus on what we're doing right. The next step with a tap room or whatever it may be, let's make sure it's right. Let's make sure we do it 120% and that it is a place that everyone can enjoy, that is going to be a hit and is going to make, the most out of our products and what we have to offer.
Nice. And the last thing was, so outside of hanging out at like craft brewing conferences, what's like day to day look like? What are you guys doing for fun? Anything?
I like to snowboard. But mostly I work a lot, so I'm mostly in the upstate. But yeah, snowboarding is one of my
Shredding up
hobbies.
in Asheville?
Yeah, like Sugar Mountain, Boone,
Oh, yeah.
wherever I
Okay.
can go. And
That's
I like
fun.
to garden a lot too. Got a massive garden at my house.
No
That's something
way.
I've
What
had since I was like everything. I grow like literally
He
everything.
does.
Really?
Yep.
Sweet potatoes?
It's pretty impressive.
I don't mess
Sweet
with potatoes. No, but I've
Got
grown
'em.
them before.
Sweet potatoes the next one.
Well, they
knew it.
just- they
I knew
grow,
he
like-
wasn't a sweet potato guy.
They grow everywhere. I mean, the vines take over, so I can't. It takes over everything else in the garden. But yeah, I grow a lot of different things. I've got purple asparagus, broccoli, a bunch of different vegetables. Almost every tomato you can think of.
Cucumbers everywhere.
Yep, the little
'em.
Cornichons actually, the little ones that you can
nice.
pickle. Yeah, and then a ton of different flowers, dahlias, lilies, all kinds of stuff.
Sweet.
It's a good
I gotta
hobby.
check that out someday.
It's fun.
And then I guess, how can we support you guys? I feel like for me, I'm going to be drinking Yacht Rocks and
Yacht
D9
Rock, oh, yeah.
bangers all summer.
Yeah.
No brainer.
Absolutely.
What
Yeah.
is there any, besides selling these things, recruiting talent, what else can we do to support you guys?
So every first Thursday, we have a Peak Drift patio party at Smoked. It's on the back
Oh,
patio.
nice.
We usually have somebody out there sampling D9 seltzers. So if you want to try any of these things before you actually go buy them, we have those every first Thursday on the back patio of Smoked.
Yes, Quinn in
that
a
way-
tank top.
Quinn in a tank top and
Oh,
shorts.
yeah, exactly.
Shorts.
And then we have D9s, and we'll have our beer. And usually our latest beer out is what we're going to sample to people too.
Every Thursday.
No, every first Thursday.
First Thursday.
First Thursday on Main Street, which actually, because we are in winter, I think picks up in March.
Yep.
So March
Okay.
is our first official first Thursday patio party, or Peak Drift patio party, that we'll get going. We'll sample new products. Our new product, our head of new product, I should say, is getting some new stuff going up in Smoked right now. So we will have some cool things going there. Those should be available at the end of the month. We look forward to the first Thursday party. And of course, we got our sister brewery, Columbia Craft. They do have a tap room. You can go there anytime you want and experience some really great products there. Kind of as we look forward to what we're doing at North Main, Peak Drift, Columbia Craft Brew Inc. We will have, as we call them, R&D facilities. We're going to do funky things at the Columbia Craft Tap Room, at the Smoked
Sweet.
restaurant, where, our new things, funky things, experimental things are all there.
Yep.
So come in and try them out.
Beautiful.
Funky. I love funky things. This is
I do
good.
too. Oh, yeah.
It's exciting. Yeah, this has been great. We appreciate you guys. Thanks for coming on the show. This is awesome. We love having such a cool thing in Columbia.
Yeah,
Hey.
thanks for having us.
Thank you, guys. Absolutely.
We're here for the health of it.
For the health of it.